Does it say anything? Yes, I think it does. Yes, it says we are live. Cool. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm just going to switch to this one. So, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to this live. 3 things you need to know about relationships. I don't know if you've seen the first one, but we're here, and I've written an ebook, and I'd like to share that ebook with you. And I'm going to have a conversation today, and I have a very special guest, Andres. Welcome.
Well, hello. Thank you. Thank you, Robbie.
Hello.
Thank you for this invitation. Thank you. I'm aware that you've been really digging into relationships and really expanding your consciousness and about relationships. So thank you. Thank you for that contribution. Thank you for the invitation. Very happy to be here from the lovely and warm land that I'm here right now.
Yes, amazing. I think it's a little bit warmer where you are than where I am. Yeah, you're right. You know, as you were saying, I've been sort of expanding my awareness. Because like I said in the first episode, you know, in this reality, I wasn't probably the one to ask, you know, to talk about relationships. And I was like, am I the one to talk about that? But you know, if everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be, then maybe I am. And there was this point where it was like, so, you know, what is my capacity with relationships? And looking at all the different things that I have been doing, and with myself, but also with my clients, where it started to sort of get this, I started to get this overview on, hey, what is this about? And, you know, what happens with a relationship, with this part of the relationship, and, you know, what is the interaction between people? And it was very interesting to look at that. And, well, you've downloaded the ebook, you've read it. Do you have some questions or anything that we could?
I do. I want to finally know what the heck a relationship it is. Like, what's this definition of a relationship?
Oh, I know, right? I know. That's also with the first episode. Why I also had the clearing of what if you decided a relationship is that it isn't, and what if you decided a relationship isn't that it is? Because the moment that we start defining a relationship the way we do it in this reality, you know, there are so many projections and expectations, and you know, we've learned that a relationship is like 2 people together, and it's this connection between 2 people, and we're supposed to act in a certain way, and we're supposed to react in a certain way. And you know, in this reality, we also talk about somebody's position in a relationship. And the way I was looking at it, and also with Access Consciousness, where, you know, they have also a lot of things to say about what a relationship is, and where the only thing a relationship is just the connection. And many people think or are actually making this connection very significant and very important. Well, usually this connection there is, it has a lot of limitations. And that's also why for this session, I was looking at the clearing to destroy and uncreate the relationship and all of the projections and expectations, separations, judgments, and rejections. Because what happens is when you have this relationship or you have this connection, and we have those expectations and those judgments, and people don't live up to that, then what happens with relationship? You know, people argue, you make up, get together, you promise to never do that again, or somebody promises to adjust, or, you know, whatever people promise to each other, and then it sort of seems like it's okay, But then again, you have the projections and the expectations, and an argument again, and you tend to separate, or at least there are some things going on. And while we're doing that over the years, everything that's sort of getting on that relationship, it stays there. Even if you talk about it energetically, you still have that on that relationship. So it's very interesting to look at that. Because what's your experience in destroying and uncreating relationships?
My experience?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ. Well, I can stay here all day. I don't really like relationships. I am against relationships. I guess I got to the point in my life where the only relationship I wanted to have was a purity of a relationship with myself, and including my daughter, and including probably the closest family members, which got reduced and all that. And then everything changed. And then from the point of view that I did not want any more relationships, a big long-term relationship and powerful got created. So to me, it was like an animal that you don't want to mess around with, kind of thing, something unknown. I wish I would have known more about relationships. Things would have been probably different. Like that's pretty much my experience with relationship. But I did want to ask you a couple of things, and this is about past life connections. You want to, like, I just told you a little bit of story about my relationship. I like pretty much I've been abused by women the moment I was born. They tend to dominate me. They tend to keep me into a cage. And the energy I live is either they love me or they hate me.
Right.
If I'm not in 100% that love, then they hate. Can you refer more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, what you were saying about, actually I hate relationships. It's not, I didn't want to do that anymore. It's also the part where that's really good to have a question about that. Do I want to do relationship, or would we like to be in oneness? And also when you talk about those past life connections, many people, when we talk about the connection and we talk about sort of breaking through that connection, people don't want to do that because they feel that it's something that they want to hold on to. And of course, if you want to look at it from the point of view where would you rather have a connection with all these limitations, or would you rather be an infinite being in oneness? So that's always a question that I ask when we look at those connections. But yeah, going to the point of when you look at two people in a relationship, and it doesn't even have to be, a love relationship. It can be like a parent-child relationship, or it can be a brother-sister. It doesn't really matter. What happens a lot of the time is when you're in this sort of conflict, many times it also has to do with the vibration that those two people are in, or it's it's the vibration, and it's also sort of, you can also describe it as sort of the greatness of the being. And if there's one that vibrates at a higher level and there's one that vibrates at a lower level, and if we look at quantum physics, putting two objects together, they have to vibrate at the same level. And looking at from the quantum physics point of view, it says that the lower one has to adjust to the higher one. But when we look at human beings, we have thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So if quantum physics says, okay, here's a higher one and here's a lower one, and now, the law, quantum physics law says you have to move up, the one with the low vibrations gets doubt and fear. So they usually don't come up. And what happens with people is normally the one that's in the higher vibration will come down, which doesn't feel good. And it's also a way of when you look at, people are saying like, why are they like bringing me down? Why was I always bullied or, brought down by people, or people were just pounding on me? It's, it's a way to get you to that lower level. And when you get to the point where you decide, okay, so you've done some work on yourself and you start believing on yourself, and you choose to stay at that higher level. So if someone is here and they want to bring you down and you decide, not to do that anymore, quantum physics says there's only one thing possible, and it says move apart. Because, you have to sort of match the frequency. And if this one is afraid to go up and this one is not choosing to go down anymore, then there's only one thing possible, and that means get away from each other. But if there is a past lifetime connection, if there's an energetic bond that is there, it prevents you from like really moving apart. So you can sort of want to do that, but everything in this reality is sort of, flinging those two together still. And it's not working because you're not vibrating on the same level. And that's where you get all these difficulties and sort of not working in real life. And then when you decide to sort of break that connection, then there's, again, choice. And there's still choice to sort of, go up or go down for the persons that are involved. But then it at least gives you the choice to not constantly be in this conflict with each other.
You know what? That's fucking hilarious. It's funny. I'm halfway in one of the books of Dane, which talks about the return of the gentleman. It's like the second edition after the Gentleman's Club. And one of the core points of the book is the men in this world, we have a hard time accepting or allowing that we need to be in a relationship with us. We have to make sure that we are happy with us and being us. And I noticed that correlation in what you were explaining, that sometimes we're on different levels. And I experienced that with I have two sisters, and they're super controlling. And they, most of the time, when they cannot be when they're at a different level, when they're up here, life is flourish, it's amazing. But when they're not, and then things are different. There is all the bullish, all the control, domination. So I think that happened with my last 3 or 4 bosses, that they were all females and they will love me forever. But the moment I wanted to move up, oh fuck, it was brutal. So thank you for that explanation. I also was looking through your clearings. I got a document here with some of the really I want to ask you. Number one, what's your favorite? Because I get here that everything is valuable. All the judgments that you have of your bad and past relationship, which never allows you to create, would you revoke, recant, rescind, reclaim, renounce, denounce, destroy, and uncreate? All that times a gazillions, right and wrong, good and bad, talk and talk, all 9 shorts, boys, and beyonds. Fucking love it.
I know.
How you come up with that?
Well, you know what? It just sort of popped out. The thing with that was that again, I don't know. It's sort of just it rolled out, and I was writing it, and
I'm gonna change the question. I'm not asking you anymore how that came out, because that's impossible to know. We're so molecular. I just love that. Just want to make a note. Love that. Love it. Love it. Love it. It actually is funny. We're talking about that, and now it came up. I opened the page, and it was just right there. So, do you mind if I read it one more time?
Yes, go ahead.
All the judgments that you have of your bad and past relationships, which never allows you to create, would you revoke, recant, rescind, reclaim, renounce, denounce, destroy, and uncreate? All that times a gazillion? Yes. Right and wrong, good and bad.
That bottom talk all night. Boys and
Boys
beyond.
and beyond.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, thank you for a little bit of nourishment right there in that department of the past relationship.
The thing with that, of course, is if we keep judging ourselves for what we have chosen in the past, we just, a judgment is one of the first things that we sort of need to let go to not be stuck anymore. And it never allows you to create, because if you're sort of stuck in that judgment and stuck in the wrongness of what that was or what you are, how much space does that give you?
Judgment is a bitch.
Right.
It's there. We think it's not. We think we're eradicating it, but what I've noticed is we are the worst judge of ourselves, and that creates some sort of judgment that we think everyone else is doing to us. It all starts from there.
Yeah.
And talking about judgment and talking about past relationships and everything, that just brings a lot of energies right now, a lot of memories and a lot of satisfaction at this moment. Because what I get is, it probably will take me a minute to really remember all those past experiences on my past relationships, but it only takes me a second to, if I get lost, going to your web and download the 3 things you need to know about relationships, which honestly, I did not know that before I got the PDF, the mini booklet. And now, how will I get a hold of the clearance if I were to get lost, or like if I need them again? Will they be available through you?
Yeah, well, what I want to do is I want to take those clearings and sort of go over them in these Facebook Live sessions. And yeah, I want to create a PDF for people who have the ebook to also get the clearings.
All right, so let's see. Let's say that for a moment, I want to know more about relationships. Now
well, I just wanted to sort of respond to what you were saying about also the judgments, because when we are judging things, it doesn't allow us to see things for what they really are. Because when we're judging things, we need to judge them as good or as bad instead of seeing it for what it is. And a major thing, especially with the clearing that you just mentioned, it is so it never allows you to create. If you're able to look at things for what they are, it would give you, a new space to create from that space where you are. Because, for example, when we were talking about those relationships where people are dragging you down, or people are bullying you, or are just, making you feel not good enough, if you can see it for what it is, if you can look at the energy and you can see that, okay, so let's say you were this child coming into this world and you were bullied by either your parents or older siblings. You have to acknowledge that you came into this world and apparently this very open child, with this high frequency, and if they've been in this world for quite some time, they were probably at a lower frequency. And there you are, this little child, and being happy and open. And they're probably not even aware of it, but the energy says that you're there and they are afraid to go up there. So then there's only one thing possible, and that's sort of, getting you down. And it's not about, you being wrong, but it's actually you being a higher frequency than everyone else. And if they don't know how to get up because, they just didn't have the tools, what else could have happened? What other choice was there for them? We now know that we have choice, we have the tools, we have possibilities, we can choose whatever we like. But, being in this world without the tools and being in this lower frequency, what other option was there? And if you start looking at it from the point of view, like, okay, that is what happened, and it was actually just this difference in frequency, and I was actually just this very, high vibe being, then you can start looking at things from a different point of view instead of the wrongness.
Right. Right. Now that you mentioned, I was pretty nutty when I was a kiddo. I was pretty wild. I was that different kiddo. I never did homework. I got the highest scores. Yeah, never went by the rules, just created my own rules. But super lucky, got away, always got on my feet, kind of thing. Yeah, that explains a lot of things now. Thank you for that, for helping me understand all that.
Yeah. It's just very interesting to look at it that way, and nobody ever explained us how we were supposed to look at that. And then all these things happen in our lives, and sort of learned the hard way.
You like why relationship? Why is that, like, what's relationship for you? The topic.
Well, I guess for me it made a lot very clear about my relationships in general, my relationship with men, but also my relationship with my parents, my siblings, my children, and I just was so I was really intrigued with the explanation that I just gave you, with people being in different vibrations, different frequencies, and then actually seeing what is happening when people are not happy with who you are. One thing that was always a trigger for me was, I was always too much. As a child, I was too much. And then, growing up and into the relationships, or being in certain jobs and being too much. Right now, it's a compliment, but in the past, it wasn't. It's sort of, it feels like a wrongness, and it feels like you're not good enough, and too much definitely is not a compliment. And even people were saying, well, maybe you can sort of take it down a few notches, right?
Too much. So let's allow me to understand what other people were referring about too much. Like you vibrating higher harmonics all the time? Are you happy all the time? Are you intense? Like, what kind of came down in that kind of vulnerable moment when we say, yes, we're different for you?
Yeah, I guess different things. Because I don't think, well, people wouldn't really say that, the frequency thing, because people generally don't really know about that. So they tend to sense that, but they don't know what it is. And also, I think, well, it's of course also one of Dane's books, but where you talk about, trying to fit an ocean in a glass, that's just not possible. And I guess for a lot of us, it's just not even possible. You are this ocean. That's just what you are. And you're just not fitting in the glass. And people are just trying to fit you in the glass, and you're just being the ocean. And they're like, why don't you just fit in the glass? Which is simply impossible. And if we would have some examples, it would be like, always like getting good grades in school, or just doing things really fast, or just, being a few steps ahead, or, and also part is just being able to sort of send out a lot of love, just being kind and being loving, and being that in the world. And if you have a lot of that and people are not able to receive it, then, it's also too much. And in this reality, a lot of people are like, well, when you're sort of very loving, you're very caring, and for some people it's just too much, because they just don't want you to care about them. And so again, tone it down a bit. And, for now it's like, no, it's not that I'm too much. It's just, it's there. There are just people not able to receive it. And so also for me, that was a lesson in, okay, so where do I go with this love and kindness and caring? Well, not in a direction where people can receive it. That was also a big lesson for me. Just don't go that way. Just don't send it. I mean, you just send it everywhere because that's who you be. But sort of don't waste your breath on where people cannot receive it.
Oh yeah, receiving that big part of all of us where it's all blocked, it's all like clogged. But I'll tell you what, here's my version of you. To me, Ruby, you are a fucking gift. To me,
thank you.
Yeah. And then the fact that you took your time, effort, and you put all these together, and then you decided to contribute to the world and help with education about relationship and share your experience and share your magic and the creation of these clearings. To me, there's so much to receive from you. And one of the things I like to invite you to do is if you were to share this video, we can, would you add some links, some people that listening to this could get a download of what you are contributing to the world today about relationships?
Absolutely. You mean the PDF and the ebook link?
I know there's a link that we share with people as they get to that's how I downloaded the
Right.
book.
Yeah. It should be in the description right now in the with this Facebook Live. It's in the description, but I will definitely sort of remind people, and when we share it, I will put it on top.
Okay, well, that sounds good. For now, I do want to thank you for this invitation, Ruby. I'm very pleased that we got to talk about it a little bit. It makes me feel way better now. I having a little bit more knowledge, and what else is possible for us? What's next?
Yeah, right. And how does it get better? And I love this, and I love your questions, and it's amazing to sort of, create more on that topic. And what else can it create, right? For us, for all of us.
This is like a constant question.
Yeah.
All the time we're moving around. Well, thank you, Ravi. Thank you. Thank you for having me here today.
Yes, thank you for joining me. So much fun. And we have a few other people also joining this live in the next couple of weeks. So just pay attention. We have a good friend of mine from Pennsylvania joining me. We have two friends of mine from the Netherlands in 2 separate Facebook Lives. We have friends of mine from Italy. So I think it's going to be awesome. And just stay tuned, watch the lives, download the ebook, and ask your questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ruby.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.